The Record Club, and by extension the HFN Network, would like to dedicate this episode to the life and memory of Chester Bennington of Linkin Park, in lieu of a sponsor. Rest in peace from two lifelong fans.
Dude, Adobe got so much, so far up their own ass, man. Screw that. I like it. I like Premiere though. Once you learn how to use Premiere, it's a good tool.
Yeah, I mean that's what I've heard, but like for video editing, I'm trying to learn how to do FL Studio, because FL Studio can handle video editing, music editing, production.
Man, everybody on that Fruity Loops.
Because it's so good. It's like the one thing you need. Like you just go to that for everything.
Okay. I will humor you on your Fruity Loops kick. And I know I've downloaded it once and couldn't really figure out how to arrange with it.
Well, I'd say after 7 years, not 7 years, 6 years using it, I think it's a little bit more than a kick.
Yeah, there you go. I'll take your words, sir. Let's jump right in. We are the Record Club.
Yeah.
How's everybody tonight? My name is Phil.
And I'm Dylan, and we do this podcast to have each other listen to albums that we have never heard before, or rather that the other person hasn't heard before.
Yeah.
And listen and review them, and we encourage you guys at home to also listen along with them, because, I mean, why would you want to listen to two guys that you don't know talk about albums that you've never heard?
That's right. So for this episode, we decided on two records. The first is the Cat Empire's self-titled record, and the Cat Empire is a ska band with a Latin, salsa, and jazz influence from Melbourne, Australia.
Did you just say Melbourne?
That's how it's pronounced. Melbourne.
Yeah. I'm not from Australia though.
Yes, but Melbourne is how they correct you if you say Melbourne. They're from that Melbourne town, right?
Yeah, I hear that's just a little bit south of Sydney.
Sydney?
Actually, that could, I mean, for all I know, that could be north of Sydney. I should probably check.
You're gonna be misinforming right off the bat. What a night it is already.
Oh yeah, for sure. It looks like it's probably south. Yeah, okay. It's in like it. Yeah, it's very much south of Sydney. So I wasn't too far off.
There you go. It's there's Adelaide. Yeah, it's it's southwest. You got it.
All right.
You can have it.
It's right. If you look on the map here, it's just north of the Bass Strait.
Just north of Tasmania. That's cool.
Yeah, and the other album is Morning Parade's self-titled album, not to be confused with Mayday Parade's self-titled album.
Gosh, I do like Mayday Parade, but it's not for you.
Yeah, I did not enjoy that. Funny story, and you know this, but yeah. I misread what you told me to listen to, and I listened to the Mayday Parade's self-titled album, and that was not a fun experience for me.
But Mayday Parade it's pop rock, so if you don't appreciate pop rock in any way, that's like that, it's emo pretty much to some people. If you don't like it and don't appreciate that, yeah, you're not going to get it. Although, fun fact, their lead guitarist is really, really good at what he does.
That's fair. I do know that I liked Morning Parade a lot more.
Yes, more of the because Morning Parade's pretty unique at what they do, in my opinion. They're a quintet from England. They're unfortunately not together anymore, but they're from Harlow in England. They were signed to Parlophone and EMI, which is a pretty big deal. And it was
their debut album on EMI or Parlophone?
I think it was EMI in the United States, Parlophone in the UK.
Okay.
And it is a very short-lived career for them. I know they started around 2010, and they played to a few festivals. They kind of hit the ground running, and their singles were really good, but they didn't do the old fashioned debut album as a local band, and they did it right. So and they're fantastic live. I never had the pleasure, but I do enjoy their records, and I'm excited to be talking about them.
Well, you definitely made a good suggestion.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Okay, so yeah, do you want to start with Morning Parade or the Cat Empire?
I guess we'll jump into Morning Parade, breath of
Okay.
fresh air. So we'll jump right in at Morning Parade's self-titled record. I'll give out some information. Do you have the info?
I do not have the info because the info is like really crazy hard to find.
Okay.
Everybody at home, if you want to try and Google it, if you can find more information than we're naming here, give yourself a high five.
No kidding. But these songs are on all your favorite streamers like Spotify, Apple Music. Not endorsing them, just saying.
Title.
All right, so basically, Morning Parade's self-titled record was released on March 5th, 2012 on Parlophone, and the singles are Us and Ourselves and Headlights being the big one, and it was produced by David Costin. And I tried to do some research on David Costin as a producer, but he did mostly local UK acts, nothing that I could point out. But it's an esteemed record for sure.
Fair enough.
So let's dive right into this Quintet's record from Harlow. Do you have any thoughts before we jump on in?
I mean, again, particularly coming off of the Mayday Parade album, it was like a breath of fresh air when like I heard the very first song, Blue Winter, and oh man, that it took me back to like my freshman year of high school when all I was listening to were like British indie bands.
Oh gosh, yes.
So like immediately I was just like, oh man, this feels like 2005, 2006. This is great.
Yeah, my playlist recently filled up with a lot of British bands. Maybe not so much indie, but a lot of Brits. And I'm kind of happy about it because they still appreciate rock music over there.
Yeah, you know, filling your playlist up with people like Block Party and the Bravery.
Oh, the Bravery. Bravery's UK. I didn't know that.
I have no idea if they are or not. I'm just naming bands that were in that genre.
They do sound, they have that Brit sound, but I think they're from the United States. I haven't looked into that. Since we're on the topic of Blue Winter, which is track 1 on the self-titled record for Morning Parade from 2012, I want to say like my first impression of that song, as somebody who listens to that record like every 3 days, they kind of introduced themselves with this great wall of sound. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, this is going to be a term that everybody listening is going to kind of have to get used to, is the wall of sound, because we kind of throw everything under that umbrella. You know, it kind of has its roots in shoegaze. Not that this is shoegaze, but it has its roots in that sort of thing where, I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a wall of sound. There's no negative space in what they're trying to accomplish with their production and their composition, and it just like fills your senses when you're listening to it.
Absolutely. And to kind of break down the guitar, the guitar technicalities of it, the rhythm guitar is kind of strumming these high chords alongside the lead guitar that's playing the exact like high scale on it. So it kind of simulates that large wall of sound. And the bassist, he's very much like a scale player. He covers his basses on all the scale, and he creates this wall of sound with a slightly distorted tone. So I love the hell out of it, man. And they they have a keyboard player that helps with that as well.
Yeah, I did notice that. It definitely, when you're going for the wall of sound, I mean, you can't make a better choice than getting a keyboard player, because I mean, it's hard to fill that space with like just guitars or just a bass player or something like that. So having synth to back it up, I mean, you're only doing yourself a favor there.
Absolutely, and it fills the atmosphere too. If they're not going for the wall of sound, he'll create an atmosphere alongside the rhythm and the lead. So it's like they're doing the wall of sound, or the other, the atmosphere of sound. It's great.
Right, and you know, with this song in particular, because I mean, it's got to be no secret by now. We have notes on all of this.
Yeah,
I wrote in my notes that like this song had a particularly superb chorus. I
absolutely.
really liked it. It was just like it fit everything that the song and the album itself brings to the table.
And the best thing about the chorus is it's only 2 words: blue winter.
There you go.
It's so simple and yet so great. It almost kind of inspires me to keep things simple and keep the wall of sound large while you just accent your mood with your voice, using your vocals as more of an instrument than this need to write a big hook.
Yeah, and not everybody has to be like bands like Modern Baseball who try and fill every inch of their song with like different words. To the point to where it almost becomes like a giant word soup. And this is coming from the perspective of somebody that is a huge Modern Baseball fan. But
I feel like that's part of their charm, though.
yeah, and I mean they almost never rhyme. But
Right.
the fact that they're like filling so much space that it's not spoken word, but it kind of feels like it.
Oh,
This is the
yeah.
exact opposite of that, and it still fills the same amount of space.
Right. Absolutely.
The second track is Headlights, and you
The
said
big
that was
single,
yeah.
the big cheese on this record is Headlights. Yes.
In my notes, I wrote same thing as track one. It's a great track, fantastic chorus. And actually, this is where I wrote in the notes that it reminds me of what I was listening to my freshman year of high school.
All right. Yeah. Reiteration on that. Headlights. Yes. Headlights was fun, and I'll go ahead and make this joke. I'd be at the mall, and this is before I knew who this band was. I actually found out who this band was like 2014 late, but this record obviously came out 2 years earlier, but it was played in malls and it was played on the radio a few times. And when you're listening to the radio and they just don't tell you what song that is, you're just like, who performs this, or
Had
who
that
sings
several
this?
times.
You're just like, who? And then now we have Shazam, so we can Shazam anything we want.
Are
Not
people still using Shazam?
Absolutely. And also, I'm not endorsing Shazam. I'm not a paid endorser. Just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, we have. We'll let you know when we've got sponsors because oh man, can't do anything for free.
That's right. I gotta eat.
Only Phil has to eat. I do not.
You're one of those immortal tree beings who feeds off soil. You crazy guy.
Soil and like solar energy. I also don't sleep. I wait.
Right. I love that. But anyway, so I'm in a mall and I'd hear this song and that distinctive repetition of the melody. When we're all too predictable, or something like that, kind of loops back in. I would hear that and I'm like, wow, that's really nice. Like it pleased the eardrum. So I was always kind of like, who is that? And then finally, one of my good friends is like, hey, check out this band. And it was them. It's like, finally, somebody told me about them. But this song was playing in like Lowe's, like hardware stores. I'd be shopping for like a new hammer or something to make shelves with, and bam, Morning Parade's Headlights. I guess you just know that's the beauty of distribution.
Yeah, because I didn't know anything about this band until you told me to listen to the album. Because I mean, I'd never heard of them. I'd never heard
Right.
anything that they'd done on the radio. I didn't know they existed. So we had the opposite experience there. And I mean, at the same time, in 2012, that's when this album came out.
Yeah, 2012.
I wasn't listening to the radio despite having just like gone to radio school.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you did do that, and here we are doing the closest thing to it.
Yeah, and so like that was around the time when I really like dove heavily into EDM. So like all I was listening to was EDM. So I got all my music from like
Hype Machine.
no, there was another one that was like really popular for a long time.
This song slaps.
No, no. Oh God, what was it?
I mean, I'm just gonna name blogs.
Like, oh God, it was one that was like really, really popular, and now I can't.
It's funny because I don't even like EDM, and here I am knowing this stuff. It's because all my friends were like EDM, EDM. and I was the lame guy who was like, I have my guitar. Is that still cool?
Yeah, I mean, you came out ahead in some ways, but I mean, really, it just kind of the market went down, kind of whittled everybody that wasn't serious about it out, and so now we've kind of got this beautiful, almost like pure form of a lot of the genres. But God, I cannot for the life of me remember what the name of that website was.
Let's be honest here. I didn't come out ahead in any way.
I mean, well, fair enough.
So was it like an EDM blog, or like was it EDM's iTunes where Skrillex was selling his stuff on?
Yeah, that's basically what it was. It was like like every big song that dropped went through there.
Is it a thing anymore or not really?
I haven't heard anybody mention it in a long time, which is probably why I don't remember the name of it. I feel like the word "bit" was in it somewhere, but I can't. No.
Pumped Audio, Beatport.
Beatport, that's what it is.
Beatport, I found it. I knew it was Beatport. Somewhere in the back of my head, Beatport was there because my buddy Lauren, when he was getting started with his EDM stuff, he was putting his stuff on Beatport. It's pretty rad.
That's the place to put it. That and SoundCloud.
Beatport, yeah. I wonder what happened to Beatport. Jeez.
I have no idea. I know that people stopped mentioning it, so
that's really interesting to bring that up.
Next song is
Carousel.
Is that the next song?
Next song is called Carousel. That is track 3.
Okay. For this song, I wrote, I hate the name Carousel for a song, but there's nothing wrong with this song. The chorus sounds full, and it sounds like there was actually work put into the production, and I'm a sucker for production. Obviously, coming from the world of EDM, you know, that kind of thing scores brownie points with me.
Yeah, it kind of has that housey intro too that I really like.
Yeah,
very chill, but then they're not afraid to kind of amp it up a little bit for the chorus.
Yeah, I just hate the name Carousel for a song, and I hate when people use the word boulevard in a song.
I'm gonna have to ask what your stigma against Carousel is.
I don't know, dude. Like I've heard a lot of songs named Carousel, and it just seems like it's really stereotypical to me.
Or if it's maybe a really like interesting attempt to make a metaphor out of nothing. It's going round and round. We get it. Something about your brain and your internal struggles and going round and round. But nah, man, I really dig this song Carousel.
The name Carousel makes me too self-inflective.
It makes you think. That's it. Not really.
Yeah, I don't like to think about my music, hence why I came from the world of EDM. And
don't let this guy have any hand in emo then. For some reason.
I had a hateful grudge against the term emo, being a My Chem fan. My Chem fans don't like to be called emo because really, if you really listen to their music, it wasn't emo.
They were called post-hardcore, like they were called the kings of post-hardcore, like in every magazine.
I don't know if I'd agree with calling them post-hardcore, but that's probably because I have a skewed idea of what post-hardcore is, probably.
And I agree with that. Whenever I think of post-hardcore, I think of like The Devil Wears Prada, something heavier.
Yeah.
Or, like you said, what was that band you liked?
From
Alexis on Fire.
I do not like Alexis on Fire. I Set My Friends on Fire.
I Set My Friends on Fire. Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah, they were post-hardcore and screamo, and I do not care for most screamo.
No post-hardcore fan likes to hear the word screamo. It's just so general. God, how dare you? How dare you? I'm gonna get all triggered now.
RAR XD.
RAR XD. Okies nuzzles. Oh God.
It's my space all over again.
Oh God. We gotta change the subject. We gotta
Running down the aisle.
Running down the aisle. What a beautiful song this is.
I put in my notes appropriate use of a slower song. So basically, what you guys at home are going to hear me talk about a lot is the concept of having the feel of a completed product for an album. Your album has to kind of feel like it's moving through something, or that it has a theme that it keeps up with, or a flow, something like that. And that's worth like half the, like if I was grading an album out of 10, like half the points are based on how good the actual album feels as a completed product. And so this actually is an appropriate use of a slower song, especially off of the end of Carousel. And the song just kind of reminds me of Coldplay, which I like.
Yeah, Running Down the Aisle is one of my favorite songs to cover. I'd cover it on an acoustic, cover it on a piano. I like how
Throw it
it
on an accordion.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Weird Al. My favorite part about Running Down the Aisle is the way the song progresses. It starts out as this very ominous piano ballad and continues into this vibey power ballad where Steve Sparrow, the singer, who I really hope comes out with some solo music soon, but it's been almost 3 years since the band broke up. Well, yep. Yeah, I hate to break it to you. Band did break up. It's been almost 3 years since the band's end, since they've mentioned anything, and I don't think anybody's gonna do any solo works, but they should. That'd be cool. Anyway, the Steve Sparrow, the singer, he does a very good job of kind of elevating his voice to help build the song from one step to another. The intro was this kind of this sweet hymn of sorts, which kind of evolves into a more powerful, where he kind of crudes up his voice a little bit. He's got this like great crudeness to him that I really enjoy. And then at the end, when the distorted guitars kind of roll in a little bit, he pretty much just yells, and it's fantastic. So I recommend that. This song is definitely one of the more underrated songs on this record.
Going to Us and Ourselves, I actually didn't know that this was a single until you told me, and I wrote in my notes that sounds like single material.
Yeah, Us and Ourselves was like a soft single. Basically, on this record, the only hard single is Headlights, but
Right.
there are two soft singles, Under the Stars and Us and Ourselves. Us and Ourselves being the bigger one of the two. So
Right.
is a staple in their set, and it had that really nice guitar intro that I think just right off the bat is very Brit rock single material anyway. Because something that's a single here might not necessarily be a single in the UK, and a single in the UK is definitely almost not necessarily a single in the United States. People
Right.
here like things a little too simple.
Yeah, like off of the Killers' first album, Hot Fuss, "Smile Like You Mean It," which is a fan favorite. It was a single over there and was never a single over here. And they also got the single "All These Things That I've Done." They got that as a single like 6 months before we did.
Yeah, where it made its rounds prior to. I think that happened with 21 Pilots as well on their latest CD, because there's a lot of they like darker music in Europe, especially Germany.
Rammstein and whatnot.
Rammstein. See, that's proof. That's proof that if a band like Rammstein can kind of be in the mainstream over there, then that's how you know.
Yeah, for sure. With this song, it kind of goes back to what I was talking about the feel of the album, the actual like flow of the album. Um, this one's it's a step up in the intensity from, like, okay, so if you look at tracks 1 through 3, there's a certain intensity between those three songs, and then it like drops into the fourth song. I'm looking for that, Running Down the Aisle, and then this one's a step up back towards what it sounded like in tracks 1 through 3.
Yeah.
And so the next song also continues that build up, but before you get back to like the actual full sound of it again in 7. And that works because you kind of almost have to look at it as a roller coaster in that situation. You had the first 3 songs which built up, or at least stayed the same in intensity. Then you have to have your hill on a roller coaster. So of course you go downhill, and so you need time to build back up. You can't do like one slow song and then just immediately go back into what you were doing before.
Right. Although that is not a lost art by any means.
Oh yeah, no, I mean some people can pull it off.
Yeah. It's like that quick ballad, and then there's the soft intro in the next song, which elevates back up to what it is. I think the Cat Empire does that actually, which we'll discuss here pretty quick.
Yeah, because I have an interesting take on that for the Cat Empire.
Cool. So yeah, the best thing about Us and Ourselves is it's that major key ballad that elevates into a very, very impactful song, especially towards the end when the group chants roll in and the melody is just, it's there. And then Steve Sparrow comes in with his vocal solos, and it's hard to deny on that one.
Every time you say Steve Sparrow, I kind of half think that you're going to end up saying Steve Perry.
Steve Perry.
Just the singer of Journey, just randomly in this band.
Yeah, you know, just an older guy doing a couple favors, you know.
Fair enough. Next song was Under the Stars, which you talked about.
Stars, yes.
I wrote excellent use of drums and continues to build from tracks 4 and 5. I don't actually remember what this song sounds like because I haven't heard it since I listened to it, but I wrote in the notes, best song on the album so far.
Oh, yeah. Under the Stars is definitely one of the better songs on this record. Just the way it carries itself.
I'm pretty sure that nobody's going to hear this, so I'm actually going to pull up this. I don't mean the episode. I mean the fact that I'm actually going to pull up the song real quick and see if I can kind of listen to it.
We'll sidebar it.
Yeah.
But I guess there's a memory jogger. It's the song that starts off really softly, and then it kind of builds up where it's like
okay, that sounded real familiar.
You know you look so tired.
Stay up late. Now it's not sounding so familiar.
Under the stars. But there's got to be a good way to fair use all this stuff if we did.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. The people at home are supposed to be listening with us.
Right.
So, yeah. Get on it.
You hear that, the esteemed listener?
What did I call him before?
I know. I was thinking about that earlier.
Well, because, like, you know, I know we haven't mentioned it before this. This is not the first time we've tried to do this. So, it was, almost exactly a year ago that we did our initial run.
It was good. It's just we had a cold open that was really good. And it turns out it had a lot of misinformation in it. So we just felt really bad about ourselves. And then my equipment failed. All my fault.
I mean, that's fair. You also, Pokemon Go came out around that time, and you got into soccer and whatnot.
Fucking Pokemon Go. Man.
All 4 people still playing that. How you doing?
Shit, I think the raids are still going pretty strong right now from what I'm hearing. Hey, let's go do the raid tonight. And I'm thinking, World of Warcraft? You want to raid?
Hey, all 4 people still playing World of Warcraft. How you doing?
To the esteemed listener, that's what they're called now.
It was that's what we'll call them now. But it was the humble listener before, because I ripped that straight from Midnight Marinara.
To the humble listener, oh yeah.
That's what I like. The esteemed listener. Track 7.
It's not a lie. You guys are super esteemed. Track 7,
especially the ones of you that are esteemed. You guys are like triple esteemed.
So if hearing Under the Stars, do you have any other opinions on it that you want to throw out there?
Oh, I mean, it's a good song. There's not a bad song on this album. So
the ending part is my favorite. Absolutely, the way it
let me hear the ending again.
It builds into this huge
jam,
pretty much.
Yes, it actually sounds like a couple of songs off of X and Y by Coldplay.
Yeah, still never really listened to Coldplay.
Dude, I'm gonna have to suggest X and Y one of these episodes, because dude, it's top notch. 10 out of 10.
Maybe it's because that album has enough singles on it to where I've kind of heard the record.
The singles on it, except for Talk, and actually Speed of Sound. Speed of Sound's good, but Speed of Sound and Talk, the other singles like Fix You, and I think there was one other.
Fix You.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's the actual album work on that album is fantastic. Like the first song, Square One, oh, it's one of my favorite songs of all time. But we're not talking about Coldplay.
Yeah, we are talking about the Defunct Morning Parade.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's all I had about Under the Stars. But Close to Your Heart, I wrote, gets back to the sound of the first three songs, completing the build up from track 4, and this solidifies the album's incredible pacing.
Love Close to Your Heart. I think that's one of the most lyrically strong songs on this record.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I do remember more of this one than I did for Under the Stars, but
yeah, and it had once again one of those strong, driven bridges. I thought that this band was kind of the best at Three Different Worlds. That's why it's so frustrating to me that they couldn't continue. They had like that cool electronic vibe. They had that driven like pop rock that I like.
Well, I mean, nobody knew anything about them. That was the thing. Like when we were looking up information about this band, like there's nothing on them, and so it's kind of hard to get like super popular when nobody knows anything about you.
Right, and they were a major label for at least one record.
Yeah.
But I think the UK still really liked them. But most of the time when I saw videos of them, it was very like cult followy. Like they'd play small venues, and there's plenty of people there. But they, in their goodbye letter, they wrote a long thing about how their personal lives and their relationships and their families were all being dragged through the things that they went through together, and they tried their best to continue as a band. And I just, I can see that
Fair
maybe
enough.
they touring's not for everybody. 100%. Touring is not for the people that get homesick really easily. Touring is not for the people that have any type of slight codependency in any way. You and your spouse or your significant other or whatever, your kids, you have to pretty much just be okay with it, especially if that's how the food gets on the table.
That's actually what Blue October's 2008 album Any Man in America is pretty much about. It's the fallout from everything that you just described.
Yeah, it's very real stuff. Like, you could miss out on, especially if you're signed as a pop rock band in a smaller label, you can miss up to 2 to 3 years of somebody's life just because you're on one album cycle, and you go on a US tour for 2 months, and then you take 2 weeks off in your hometown and right back on the road again, and you might not have seen your dad or your mom throughout any of your breaks, and next thing you know, your dad's sick or something, so you're like, well, fuck, I don't know what I'm doing. So it's just a lot of stuff. And I also heard a podcast with one of my other favorite singers. He talked about how basically they were touring, and it was him and his wife's first anniversary, and he's playing to a room full of like 6 people in Albuquerque, New Mexico, when they're from Chicago. And he's like, well, what am I doing? They're called The Graduate. I'll probably suggest a song, or actually an album of theirs, to you at some point, because they're even on a lower scale than Morning Parade. Like, I have a copy of their debut album because I opened for them in 2008, and like I can't find their first album anywhere because their record label was real stingy. But the statute of limitations on that record are about to end, so I think it's about to be back into the band's rights to sell it again. So it might end up on streaming sites soon.
Well, hey, man. Even if it's not, like, well, that's the thing. I guess we kind of have to stick to things that are, because
actually, I take that back. Anhedonia from The Graduate is on Apple Music. Oh boy!
Let's check and see if it's on Tidal real quick.
That's fun.
In case you guys didn't know, I am a Tidal fanboy.
Yes, he is. He likes his lossless.
Actually, I could care less about the sound. I like the way that it supports the artist a little bit better, and I like the people that run it.
Jay-Z, right?
Jay-Z, Chris Martin from Coldplay has stake in it. Daft Punk has stake in it.
Taylor Swift?
I'm not sure.
I know she had that whole thing with Spotify a few years back.
Yeah. What's the name of the album?
Anhedonia.
Tidal only has Only Every Time.
Yeah, that's a good one, but that's their second record.
Fair enough. I mean, I can probably find it somewhere.
If not, we'll go back to 2004 and I'll burn you a CD.
Oh man, better not let the RIAA catch you here. Catch you saying that.
Just kidding. I don't burn CDs. Shh. Anyway, so back on the morning parade, because I believe every song can end up in a rant or a conversation, which is kind of cool. It's kind of an entertaining part of this podcast, is that a song can spawn a whole conversation of 1,000 words, more or less.
That's what a song should be doing.
Absolutely. That's how you know your music is awesome.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I mean, there are going to be songs that I'm not going to have much to say about, and vice versa. But you know, when every single song on an album is spawning tangents, you know it's a good album.
No kidding.
So yeah, the next song on the list is Half Liter Bottle.
Yes, Half Liter Bottle, yet another really soft ballad. You know, I'm gonna really hate myself if I was like halfway through a point on Close to Your Heart and I forgot what I was talking about, and next thing you know, we spawned a tangent. So let's just move forward, hope for the best.
Hey, for anybody that is interested in hearing anything that Phil might have been talking about, and you know, future Dylan that edits this podcast will know whether or not he was actually still making a point. But if anybody wants to hear the second half of Phil's point from track 7, donate to our Patreon in like 6 months. And
right, yeah, Patreon would be fun.
And maybe we'll record a bonus track to episode 1,
like an editorial like kind of thing, you know, where we just
like we listen back to episode 1 and discuss it.
We could start flashing back to all these old times. Hey, remember that time we did in episode 1?
which time in episode 1?
Oh gosh, I was making a reference to more like a really short series, like in the Clerks animated series.
Oh, yeah, sure.
It's episode 2, so they flash back to episode 1.
Remember that time we got locked in the freezer?
That's right now. That's so good. It's fantastic. I recommend the Clerks animated series.
Clerks animated series, yeah.
Yeah, I recommend that to Planet Earth and Mars. Everybody listen, or everybody watch it.
And it's like all 6 episodes are the length of a movie, so you have no excuse.
Yeah, 20-minute episodes, if that. Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, so Half Liter Bottle. We have another ballad on our hands, Dylan. Why don't you tell us your thoughts?
I did not remember the song being a ballad based on my notes.
Really?
Well, it says in my notes, and I could be wrong. I'm gonna have to listen to the opening of this song and title again.
It's very soft. This is the softest song on the record.
Jesus Christ! Well, then why did I write this song? Does a good job of playing off the high energy from track 7 that I didn't Oh, that's why. Because I didn't realize that another song had started until halfway through. So it probably played really, really well off of the end of Close to Your Heart, and so that's why you're saying that it was a. It was about. I didn't realize it was a different song until like halfway through.
Oh gosh, you must have zoned out. Sorry, I didn't.
No, dude,
it was such a boring record.
No, it wasn't that. It was that like
Just
it was doing
kidding.
such a good song, such a good job that like I didn't realize that it had even changed songs.
No kidding. It's that smooth transition. Very underrated band, this one.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm gonna listen to the beginning of this just so I kind of have a. Jeez, man, that's embarrassing.
Half Liter Bottle is to me a very message-oriented song. It's covered by mostly a clean guitar.
Yeah,
and
I can hear that now.
An atmospheric synthesizer, just kind of taking you through the story that he's telling about his brother, and I think him and his brother were roommates. I don't remember the story, but he just knows that his brother gets wasted all the time.
Right.
And you know, not everybody likes that. I like to have a you know, if I had a good friend who was drunk all the time, and if it was part of his charm, even though it's a detriment to them, you want to be able to tell them, hey man, like, come on, you're hurting yourself. And this song does a very good job of like describing traits of what his from memory of what, you know, like the smoked cigarette stains on your teeth, you know, that's just something that you see every time and you kind of think about it like, oh, this person doesn't take care of themselves.
We have two vastly different approaches to that situation because, you know, while you're telling them like, hey, you should probably like slow down and you're hurting yourself, I'm just like, hey, you're a really fun person.
I'm
kidding.
sure.
I'm kidding.
It's like, hey man, you should drink more. But you know, I don't typically like drinking much anymore. So, and this is a very real conversation. You know, like things are gonna get real from time to time from song thoughts of songs. But it's, you know, you would rather somebody be themselves more so than a chemically covered up person, which we can't always help that because, you know, a lot of us take medications which alter our personalities, and they need that, we need that. So respect to everybody out there and love everybody for who they are, but for people who drink too much alcohol, it's just kind of rough to deal with, even from the outside looking in.
We have two very different opinions on that. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh my god! I was like, what's happening?
I was like, some people need to be chemically covered up, and some people. No, I'm kidding. I don't have that opinion at all.
Damn.
So some people need to be other people.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Master of Disguise, Dana Carvey.
Dude, what happened to him? I know he had a Netflix special, but I haven't heard shit from him in what?
I think I watched it and I was like, oh, cool, Dana Carvey did a thing. And then I turned it off after about 10 minutes when they're like, current events, what's that?
When I was coming up in comedy, we had Ronald Reagan.
Oh, that Trump guy. We get it.
The guy from Atlantic City?
Good times. Anyway, so
about people that need to change in order to be loved.
Oh God, don't do this.
Okay. Next song, Monday Morning.
Monday Morning.
I said start slow to match where the energy was at the end of track 8. That extends and then extends that energy into track 10, where the sudden burst of energy breathes life into the pacing again. So it's just kind of like, you know, again, if you're looking at this album like a roller coaster, you have the big hill, and now this is the small hill.
Yes, absolutely. The best thing about Monday Morning is it's like right under, I'll say, close to your heart lyrically. As it's really good. You kind of listen to it. I listened to this song on a Monday morning on some of my drives to work and back 2014-ish, and I would it would just be very what's the word I'm looking for? I would listen to this song on Monday morning commutes to work, and it was very much warranted. It just felt right. You're just kind of like,
yeah, it was apropos.
Thinking about the Monday morning. Wait, what did you say?
It's apropos.
Apropos?
It's appropriate.
Oh.
Apropos. APPROPRO.
Apropos. I've never heard that. That sounds like when people shorten words like that's so fresh.
that hurt my core.
Look what you spawned. You spawned this conversation.
Hey, apropos is an absolutely valid word.
Okay, fair enough. We'll move on.
I'm just glad that you don't think I was saying like, oh yeah, that's very Arapaho.
Arapaho? You mean where you can find smoke shops?
I guess. I don't know anything about Arapaho.
Arapaho is like in North Dallas. Anyway.
Fair enough.
God.
This is the small hill in the album, in the roller coaster.
This is also the small hill in our conversation, apparently.
I, for one, much like track 10, am speechless.
Speechless is fantastic. It brings the energy back in that vibe that we want. You know, you kind of know what to expect at this point. But every ballad on this record is pretty different from the next, you know?
Yeah, and I wrote that this is one of the strongest songs on the album, if not the strongest song on the album.
Speechless?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember why I wrote that, because I do not remember what this song sounds like, but hold on. Let me give it another.
It has a piano intro and then it bursts right into action.
Yeah, I just cut to the middle of it, and absolutely, yeah, I'm gonna back that up. It is definitely, in my opinion, the strongest song on the album.
I like the minor key scale that he sings in the chorus.
Yes,
it's super aggressive. Speechless is a good song. I like it.
Yeah.
Very much a candidate for strongest song on the record. And we can always do that at the end of our records. We say favorite, best, worst, etc.
Fair enough.
Speaking
of worst.
Oh, go ahead.
I said, speaking of worst, and then you said Born Alone. I think that this, while is a very good song, is probably the weakest song on the album.
Yeah. I don't agree with that because I love that song.
Hey, I mean, like I said, it's still good. But the thing is that you put, and it would be better if it was in the middle of the album, particularly in that stretch of like tracks 4 through 6, where you're still trying to build back up. Because the last song on the album has a very important role to play in the pacing of an album. And if you do not have a strong finish on the album, it just kind of it's like an unfinished sentence, you know.
Well, I have a candidate as to why I agree, or not candidate. I have a statement as to why I agree that Born Alone is the perfect finale on this record.
Okay.
This is kind of fun, and it won't come to a shock, come to you as a shocker, one bit. Basically, Born Alone kind of starts off really slow, and then he spends a little bit of the time in the verse just kind of giving these really slow rendered emotional statements. Not much strength to it, but the lyrics are extremely strong, you know. And I might be overrating Steve Sparrow's lyrics just because I feel like they're extremely relatable to me. They're very like everyday problems, and they're not all cliches. Like not every line is a cliche. There are quite a few,
right?
But they're not.
You're just not going to get through an album without, unless you're Max Bemis. You're not going to get through an album without a cliche. And you know, when Max Bemis uses a cliche, he's clearly making light of the fact that he's using one.
Yeah, Max Bemis has a way to rewrite every cliche and create cliches. He's a lyrical mastermind, lyrical genius, and I definitely would love to do an episode where we just talk about Say Anything for like 2 hours, which we could totally do.
Oh yeah, because you know that's one thing that the audience is never going to get to experience if we don't, because we've heard all of Say Anything's work.
Absolutely.
You know, but I have no problem with like every 2-3 episodes just sitting down and like doing an album or doing an entire episode on like just one artist's work is kind of like an artist spotlight. I think we talked about that originally too with Angels and Airwaves.
Absolutely, yeah. And Angels and Airwaves, to Say Anything, just to kind of revisit a band that we both really enjoy instead of a band that neither of us have heard of, kind of thing, or an album at least. But more on the subject of Born Alone, the chorus carries itself in one of the more melodic ways on this record, and just kind of the lyrics. Well, time will tell you that you're just getting older, while fear will teach you to shut your eyes. Well, I've made amends with the bones in my closet. I was born alone, but I won't die alone.
That is strong.
It's extremely strong. Now, the first chorus is light, cool, and then it breaks, and it's this really soft break where this song just builds into this large exit where the last time he sings the chorus, he practically screams it, and I'm just kind of like, and then the falsettos carry the song to its end, but then the guitars are distorted in such a way to where it just jams at the end. I think it's a very well arranged song, but I can agree with you to the fact that it's not like on paper the strongest song on this record, but I think it works fine as a finale because you don't want to put your best song as your last song every time anyway.
Well, not every time, but I mean, on an album that's this strong, I mean, I just personally feel like, you know, you need a strong finale. It's like, all right, if you look at the Black Parade by Mike Hem,
Yeah.
To me, the strongest song on the album is Famous Last Words, and that's
Yeah, I can agree with that.
And so, you know, you
Oh.
have an album that's just from start to finish is damn near perfection, at least to me. I mean, everybody's got differing opinions about them, but
Oh yeah.
And that's not even my favorite album by them.
Mm-hmm.
But the album's damn near perfection from like start to finish, and then they still have room to just go, okay, we're almost done. Onto your ass.
You know? Yeah, you know what? Famous Last Words is really good. It carries itself really well.
Yeah,
But
and so when an album can pull that off, it's just it's that's the difference between like an 8, a 9, and a 10 out of 10.
Right. For sure. I just think that listening to this record more, I think you would appreciate that song as a finale track more so.
Okay.
But first listen, you probably be like, why is that one there? Because you know, when you first hear a record, I like to listen to records in their entirety, but you do a lot of skipping around until you learn to appreciate different songs, and then eventually it just becomes, oh shit, this record's fantastic. More so after you listen to it a few times.
I mean, that's fair. I'm definitely going to give this album, you know, several more listens over time because
Cool.
again, like I there's
recommend
nothing I particularly dislike about the album. The only complaint that I've had about it so far is just that, you know, while Born Alone is a great song, I just don't agree with it as the ending.
Fair enough.
You know, I would have like maybe rearranged. I mean, hell, making Speechless the last song, you know, going from like Monday Morning into Born Alone, then into Speechless, like that would have been the difference between the rating that I do give it and the rating that I would have given it.
Right. Well, that's good. I think that we've covered this record on a quite a strong basis. So let's I'm gonna go ahead and ask. So weakest song.
Weakest song to me was Born Alone.
Okay. Strongest song.
Strongest song was Speechless, and my favorite song was Speechless.
Okay, I was about to say favorite song.
By the way, everybody listening at home, I've kind of, I feel like I've kind of like beaten this thought process into your head because you've kind of adopted it as well. In that, yeah. I make a very strong effort to separate best and favorite.
Yeah,
because they should be separated.
Yeah, you're right. You should have. Oh, I have this favorite song, but I think the strongest song on the record is this one due to its more stronger composition.
Right, just like with Red Hot Chili Peppers. Right. Do I think that are they my favorite band? No, but when you're talking about pure longevity, quality of their work, number of singles over time that stayed popular, you know, that the popularity over time in general, you know, you kind of have to go like, oh, well, they're at least a strong candidate for, you know, what's arguably the best band in the world, even if they're not your favorite.
For sure. And it's hard to argue that Speechless is one of the strongest songs on this record. For me, it's kind of hard to say. I think Under the Stars is the strongest. Mm-hmm. My favorite is Running Down the Aisle.
Okay.
Gosh. Weakest song on this record, Half Liter Bottle, although I do enjoy it.
Fair enough. And what if you're going to give a score out of 10, because people actually like that. I've been watching videos by I'm not gonna name drop this because I mean it's not gonna matter to anybody and they don't know who we are. But right. Recently, 2 YouTubers that I watch started a film review channel, and on like every single video, you just see streams of comments where they're just like, okay, yeah, but can you give it like a rating out of 10, or can you give it like a letter-based rating or something like that? And so people just kind of tend to like that sort of thing. So I'm gonna give the album a strong 8 out of 10, like in the upper eights, like 8.8, 8.9 out of 10.
Right with you, 8.5.
Yeah.
Booyah! Love this record. Thanks for everything, Morning Parade. Really wish you guys were still around, and maybe at some point we'll review the second record, which is called Pure Adulterated Joy.
Dude, I love that name. That is a good name for an album.
Yes, and the album's quality is not far from the beauty of its name. And I will also say that it's pretty different from the first record. It doesn't completely skip sounds or anything. It's just the whole vibe is different.
Okay, well, maybe in like 10 episodes we can come back and revisit their work.
We'll have fun with it. All right.
Good, man.
Great to hear. Now we're gonna move on to our second record, which was the one I was requested to check out, and this is the Cat Empire's self-titled record. Do you want to do the honors on the information there?
Absolutely. Like we were saying at the beginning of the episode, the Cat Empire is they're described on Wikipedia, at least, as an alternative rock band. I don't agree with that. Alternative rock band from Australia. They can be described as like jazz, ska, reggae, salsa. Everything's a little bit different with them. It's actually kind of refreshing. But this album is their self-titled album and their debut album. And it actually debuted on Virgin Records. It was released October 24th, 2003. Again on Virgin, and it was produced by Andy Baldwin and the rest of the band. And the singles were Hello, Days Like These, The Chariot, and 145.
Absolutely. I know they did they record a little bit of it in Wales?
Let me check. I'm not entirely sure.
It said here that it was recorded mostly in Melbourne. But you can't live that down, can you?
No. Melbourne.
It said part of the record was not filmed. It was part of the record was recorded Byron Bay Nut Farm in Wales. I don't know what that means. Is it called that? Is the studio called Nut Farm, or is it a nut farm? And what if Nut Farm is actually a metaphor for like the loony bin?
Oh my god. That's
Aren't I the worst?
No, that's the best. Yeah, I have no idea if it was recorded in Wales. I don't doubt it, but I do know that they recorded material in between touring Australia. And the album went 2 times platinum, which I did not know until last night.
That album went 2 times platinum on.
Well, I think it's by the ARIA, which is probably the Australian recording industry's something.
Okay, so in it sold 2 million copies in like what was it, 2003? Yeah, 2003, 2004. God, that's awesome.
Yes, this is Australia's official music chart, so it went ×2 in Australia. Over here, I'm not seeing too much about it over here because they don't actually come over here very often. Every time I see them touring or like playing shows or something like that, they rarely come over here. They play Asia a lot. They play Spain and France and stuff like that a lot, and then of course they play Australia. Right. Yeah, it's rare when they come over here, and it was like I was saying before, if like Modest Yahoo and the Cat Empire ever did a show together, like no matter where it was in the world, I'd have to drop what I was doing and go see it, because oh my god, that sounds like the best show in existence.
This sounds like one big party for however long the show goes, and I'm sure they'll have a really cool ska opener too.
Actually, dude, that's the thing. Like I would just make it the Cat Empire and Modest Yahoo.
Yeah.
Like no openers.
You can do that, or you can have a really awesome opener. You never know, man.
That's where we differ.
You might find a gym that day.
That's true, and that's kind of where we differ, but that's mostly just because like most of the shows out here in Dallas are like outside or in like a not well ventilated venue, and man, I don't take the heat well, so I've kind of grown to dislike sitting through openers, and I know that's really bad because that's kind of hurting the scene.
Oh, pish posh. That's how you get into new music. That's how
That's the
that's
thing.
how bands who like they dream all their lives of being in this position, and then bam, they stumble into a record deal, and
Absolutely, and I
they
agree
get
with
put
the.
on these tours, and they've earned your attention at least for one song. If you
Oh
hate
yeah.
it, you can walk away.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I agree with the art of it. It's just, man, it gets hot here in Texas.
All right, fair enough. But boo, boo.
Well, moving on to the actual, some more of the album details. It says all tracks were written by Phoenix Rival.
Felix
Uh,
Rival.
yeah, Felix Rival, unless otherwise indicated. I do know that Ollie McGill, who he wrote a song called "Dumb Ways to Die," which that went viral in 2012 when they were talking about like staying back from like subway trains and stuff like that in Australia. That was part of their big campaign. It like hit #1 on iTunes in 2012 and
Crazy.
stuff like that. And
That's the
it's
guy that sounds like Damon Albarn, right?
yes. Oh, and
Okay.
no. That is Harry Angus. We don't
Oh.
hear Ollie McGill on the album. He's their keyboard player.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he had a big hand in like the composition, but it sounds like at least most of the tracks were written by Felix, who is the
Gotcha.
singer.
Okay, cool. Great to hear. So we can jump right into this track list.
Yes. #1 is "How to Explain," and oh man, dude, this just welcomes you into the album in such a cool
Absolutely.
way.
It starts right out the gate with that Latin salsa trumpet,
Oh,
and it just jams. But it's impressive for sure. And the first thing you hear is the vocalist comes out along with the instrumentation, and
mhm.
he kind of goes with that low key, fast pattern singing with a little bit of a hip hop influence to it. I
Right.
think it's the song is pretty much one of the most perfect ways you can introduce yourselves as an artist, because this is your debut record if you're the Cat Empire. So you
Yeah.
just kind of want to say, this is who we are. This is our calling card. This is our business card, and covers pretty much all of their core style. And um, you can hear their big verse well with that, because it starts off with that quick salsa dancey stuff, and then it hits hard like with that constant bass, do, and it has that reggae feel.
I'm gonna make
And then
I'm gonna make a statement about this that I'm
go
not
ahead, hit it
sure
hard.
how everybody is going to take this, but it to me, this song and Paper Cut by Linkin Park are two of the strongest, and when I say opener, I don't just mean on the album. I mean strongest openers for a band where this is like the first thing that you're probably hearing by them that's not a single.
Gosh.
And like it's like that and Paper Cut, like you these two songs do a better track than almost any opening track I've ever heard on any album, period, point blank, hands down, of giving you exactly what to expect, A, out of the artist, and B, out of the album.
That main tagline really lured me in. The music is a language of us all. Music is a language of us all. Music
Yeah.
is a language of us all. It's pretty cool. This is a good strong opener for a record.
Oh, absolutely. And the way that it kind of like the song ends extremely appropriately, and that it just kind of like it has to, while it's not fading, it has to kind of like you can almost hear each person stopping one at a time until it's just kind of like you just hear the horns at the end still playing, like, oh, everybody else stop, kind of thing. Like it's a party of a song, and it's not
Absolutely.
over until the last person's left.
I love it. All right, so let's go into the next track, Days Like These.
Yes, which is one of the singles.
Very good continuation.
Oh yeah, I mean, and when you're getting a ska band or in a reggae band and stuff like that, like, I mean, you can't go wrong with this song.
Yeah, it starts off really low key and then it turns into a really upbeat reggae song. And it has that, oh, like the strong chant thing. It's very happy. And then you hear turntables
Yeah.
and the hip hop influence kicks in. The thing, the thing it's funny about this band is they do a lot of multiple, what do you call it?
They
They
like switch
do
up their style mid song a lot.
they do that, and they do multiple figures in their verses. Like here's
Yeah.
verse part 1, verse part 2, verse part 3, and then the chorus is the next part kind of thing. It's pretty cool how they managed to keep a contrast. This is a
Oh,
very good like early part of the record for sure.
oh yeah, for sure. And you know, one thing about the album or about this song is that this is a very Australian song, in that you hear them say "g'day" multiple times. You hear him say "lassie" multiple times. Uh,
Yeah, you almost forget that they're Australian when you hear the sound almost.
yeah, and then you hear it. It's just like, okay, you're like beating us over the head with the Australian thing, and I love it.
It's super good. I love it.
It makes you want to go to Australia and just kind of, you know,
Mingle.
yeah. Yeah, like the songs, you know, in the later part of the song, dude's talking about just going to go see a reggae show on like the faintest suggestion of going to see it, and it's like, oh yeah, well, I'm just gonna go with the flow. I'm gonna go, you know, let's go see a reggae show. You said good day, you want to go see some reggae, you know, that sort of thing. And so
So good.
he shows up, and it's like, oh yeah, well, let's have a good time.
Absolutely.
Next up is the Lost song, and this is the first song where Harry Angus, the trumpet player, gets the spotlight.
Yeah,
He's on
I
days
did
like
note
these.
that since I don't know much about the singer's live show, because we just listen to records and kind of take for what the music is. It's
Right.
got a very chill intro. It has that soft vocal from Harry Angus. Is that what you said his name was?
Yeah, Harry Angus, not Harry Anus or anything like that. So
I didn't say that. You said that. Your words, not mine. He's the guy who sounds similar to Damon Albarn.
yes, from
And
Gorillaz and Blur.
or maybe that could just be his accent, and I'm just.
Well, I'm pretty sure that I'm relatively sure that Damon Albarn is like straight up English, and Harry
Yeah.
Angus is Australian.
No, I know for sure. Lost Song was okay. I thought Lost Song was just one of those songs that's a continuation of a record, like kind of two upbeat songs, and then we die down a little bit into a really chill song. But it picks back up when you get back into the Chariot, which is the next track. I think this is one of your favorites.
Well, one more thing about the Lost song, real quick, is that the point of the song isn't necessarily to like have a downer after two arguably party songs.
Right.
It's that they want to showcase how proficient they are at actual reggae.
Right.
Because the trumpet sections on this song are very strong, and then you also start to hear a lot of sounds that you would hear in traditional reggae. That it kind of, the first three songs do a really good job of highlighting what they do, and that's reggae, that's ska, and that's like jazz salsa fusion.
Right.
And so they have to have three songs that kind of showcase these three styles, because in songs like the Chariot and the Rhythm and the Wine Song and stuff like that, like that's when they start really mixing all three in one song.
Yeah, and that's very much understood, that you kind of have to intro yourself. Album structure wise and the pacing, I wasn't too sure if, to me, that made the most sense. But when you're a ska band, you get a little bit more leeway from your fan base, because they're more more lenient as to what comes next.
Well, what I was mentioning earlier about why I think that that there's kind of an interesting point with this album and the band in general is kind of almost exempt from the album pacing rule that I have.
Right.
Because when you have a sound like this, it's more important for you to sound good live than it is for you to sound good on the album.
For sure, and they do sound really good on the album. I mean, that's still a plus.
but you don't need to pay that much attention onto how your album is structured if your songs are like top notch.
For sure.
So going into the Chariot, it's a staple of their live set. From every set list I've seen, it's like almost always their closing track. It's really good. It's really damn good.
It's definitely a good transition back into something more upbeat and energetic.
Especially because it starts off slow with like that almost wind blowing thing, and then like the DJ scratching, and then it drops into the ska.
The freaking turntables. It's so cool. And at this point, like you were telling me about the first three songs on this record, they've pretty much introduced all aspects of their sounds. And this point, kind of what to expect from here on out, mostly because they can also throw curveballs at you, which we learn they do. They very much so do. The song jams again with that salsa style and the vibrant brass instruments, the horn section. It still has that chill jazz instrumental here and there, and then they have one of my favorite choruses. Our weapons are our instruments made from timber and steel.
Yeah.
Awesome lyrics. It's like a ska reggae war cry almost.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's why they kind of choose to make it their closing track for live shows.
Make music, not war. Oh, it's their closer. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, very good lyrics. I think it's the strongest song on this record so far, for sure.
So far, I will agree with so far, because oh my god, there's a song coming up in a couple of songs that it's superb.
For sure.
But the next song on the album is Hello. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, super good. This is my favorite song on the record, and we're talking about separating church and state on the fact that separate favorite from best. I'm gonna go ahead and say it now. Hello is my favorite song on this record.
It's so good, dude. And
it raps in the verses about meeting this girl for the first time, and those Hebrew H's are just awesome. Hello, and you forget they're Australian sometimes. Like you're just, they have this way of kind of messing with your head a lot in a good way.
Oh yeah, and this song does a fantastic job of pointing out the absolute like sultriness of Felix, because dude's not a bad looking dude.
Yeah, he kind of has that Adam Levine swagger to him.
How did I describe him? It was like
you said he looks like a better looking version of the Train Singer.
Oh yeah. He looks like what the Train Singer wishes he looked like.
Also, the Train Singer is like 45 now, so cut him some slack. Maybe
how old is
pushing
Felix
50
Rival?
pretty hard. No idea. That's not media. That's not media I chose to gather for this.
Let's check and see how old Felix Rival is. He was born in 1981.
Okay, so he is 36.
Yes. So, 36, 50, same ballpark.
No, is it?
No.
Gosh. Scaring people. You're scaring people out there.
Oh yeah, for sure. You never know what's gonna come out of my mouth. Also, apparently he has a 4-track EP that I did not know about. That's gonna be interesting.
Sounds like a late night listening assignment that you're putting on yourself.
Oh yeah. Also, he is a staunch liberal. It appears. He aligns himself with the Australian Green Party, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, because other parties are important in other countries.
Yes.
No comment. No further comment will be made.
I mean, that's fair. Generally speaking, people that are in our age group and are as artsy as we are tend to kind of have a certain persuasion, but
yeah, the perspective here and there, mostly left. But I don't really like the fact that we're on a two-party system. Anyway, it's too political.
Let's get back to hello. It's such a good song in general, dude. Like, not like subject matter aside, it's a fun song, and that's kind of what you have to describe this album as. It is a fun album.
Yeah, and I will, put out there like I did for last record. If you had to choose one song to listen to intro yourself to this band, I recommend this one.
I think I got you into it with the rhythm, right?
Huh?
I think the first song that I showed you by them was either Bulls or The Rhythm, right?
It's a newer song. I know that.
Bulls.
I think it was The Rhythm.
It was Bulls.
Bulls on Parade.
Bulls.
Right.
That's that's the one where he's a lot older.
Yeah, that's like recent work, isn't it?
Yeah, that's Bulls from 2015 or 16.
Okay. Hard to believe that's considered the past now.
A little bit.
Where's time going?
Well, I don't know, but I know where this podcast is going, and that's going to track 6, 145.
145. Da, 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 da.
It's another really fun song, dude.
Oh, yeah. 145 sounds like a really good live song, which just everybody's dancing and drunk and stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I find myself singing it at like random times where I'm just like standing there like kind of spacing out, and I'm like, and then it's like 145, and it's a fun song. I don't know, man. It's solid.
Yeah, and to the point is this now takes the strongest song on the record so far.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it has the upbeat, sublime feel to it during the verses, with perhaps a different singer. That I actually wrote that down, but we've already covered this. This is what's his name?
Harry Angus.
Harry Angus.
Gosh. Yes.
That's
the one where he goes to the doctor.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is the one where he goes to the doctor and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to prescribe that you listen to this to this 45. Like you're going to listen to this album to feel better."
Okay, like that's pretty. That's like a concept. Yeah, hell yeah, I like that.
Of course, it can be like misconstrued as like antidepressants or like pot or something like that, but it's. I mean, the way that it pretty much is that like, oh, you're going to listen to this, because when he says it, it's like listen to this daily with hip shaking and I can't remember the other word, like sashes or something like that.
Right.
He's having him listen to this album to feel better, and it's almost like he's having him listen to this album because it's such a feel-good album.
It's pretty feel good for sure. And the chorus has that classic salsa melody and energy, stays consistent. There's a little bit of a rhythmic break in the bridge, but I think it's just that salsa vibe is just awesome. It separates this band from a lot of bands that you hear out there in the ska scene.
And if I had to pick the two most ska songs on this album, it's 145 and Beanie.
Absolutely. All right, so any other thoughts on this song?
No, because I want to move on to the rhythm.
The rhythm, that's also a strong song. Spanish guitar and piano intro, it's a softer intro, builds into a hip hop and a singing verse. I think it's like more like a sing hop. Similar to what's popular nowadays kind of thing.
I guess I could see that. But when it really gets into it, it's when it like really breaks into the whole salsa nature of what they do.
Absolutely.
It's, to me, I wrote down in my notes that it's the epitome of the Cat Empire's sound.
For sure, and I really like the Australian accent with the Latin twang to it. Like, yes. I mean, how I don't know much about Australia's history, but Australia is pretty damn far from any Latin countries.
That's like, true. It was originally a British prison colony.
Like is kind of like Siberia for Russia. Australia was the British. I do know that. Then I do know a little bit about Australian history. It was a prison colony, just like you said, and
they got the drop bears, and they got crocs.
Like they're very, very far from Spain or Mexico or any of Central America or South America.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I say these these things in a horrible Australian accent, fully prepared for when Australian people go and like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go up to Whataburger and get me a cheeseburger and a gun, because I mean that's fair.
What a burger?
Whataburger and a gun.
Gosh.
How about them Cowboys?
You're just gonna piss people off now.
I'm gonna piss everybody off, which will take away the right to be pissed off from anybody.
Good. I'm glad. I kind of like that. Nobody needs to stay pissed off forever for any reason.
So you know how Canadian people are always like, no, I'm kidding.
You know how us Americans we eat a lot, right? No, that's terrible.
Well, I mean, I notice how one of the two things that I listed about Texas were Whataburger and guns. The first thing in that being food.
Ugh, edgy. We're so edgy, guys. Oh my god. No, we're not. That's not edgy.
It's not. It really isn't.
At all.
But back to the rhythm. It's like it's my favorite, and I think it's the best song on the album to me. I know I have this thing where I separate them, but on both of these albums, they just happen to align.
Yeah, you can just kind of see that their sound is very innovative in the realm of ska, especially for 2003. You know, I see this coming out in 2011 and still holding its ground.
Oh yeah. The next song is the Wine Song, and this song sticks out from the entirety of the rest of the album.
It's the bar mitzvah song. Hey, hey.
It starts off slow, it builds slow. And then when it's like a nice like grill, you know, like it takes a while to get the coals lit. Once it's lit, it's a party for a long time.
Yeah, that piano intro almost sounds like a classic arrangement, and then you hear Harry, the other singer, he's singing kind of like a recital styled ballad over it. It's kind of good.
Like you'd hear it on Broadway or something like that.
Yes. Now, I will say the Wine Song is cool and all, but it is a whopping 7 minutes and 22 seconds.
And it's worth every second of it to listen to at the first
you know
time.
what? My first few listens, it became a chore at this point. I hate to say it.
This is the first song that I had ever heard by the Cat Empire, and so like when I was getting it, like it's obviously strong enough for me to have gone, I'm gonna listen to the rest of their work.
Yeah,
and so you know,
I guess that's where we differ, but I can agree why you felt that way, because it is good. It is good. It's just 700 or not 700. It's just
a minute is not 100 seconds, Phil.
I'll start over. It's just that 7 minutes and 22 seconds just seems like a really long song.
Just to hear
first. But I will say, you know, this is one of those bands that is very exempt from albums pacings, mostly because of what it is that they do. But for me, for somebody who is listening to this album and from an like kind of like an external ear, and I just kind of felt that all the long songs were hard for me it was hard to keep my attention on them, for sure.
That's fair.
But
just, oh man,
my notes on this song were excuse me. My notes on this song were that this song is a prime example of your all over the place ska, for sure, because you know that's how ska bands usually are. They love their tempo changes, they love their clever arrangements. They just love to be energetic and obnoxious in a good way, of course. Tempo changes, all that. I jokingly coined this song the Bar Mitzvah song.
Well, you know, it's just like as it's going through its paces, because it has a lot of parts where it's like this is the prime time to like bring in audience participation, and so you find yourself listening to it and going along with Harry going, run, 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 you know, and it's like it's fun to get into for me.
So we can since it's a very long song, I know you probably could go on rants about this song if you really wanted to.
I don't have anything else to say about this song.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the next. Sorry, go ahead.
Except that the song, the title is very appropriate. You're like going through the aging process of a wine. in the course of the song.
That's beautiful. That's some beautiful words that you just said.
Yeah. Next song is
we're aging a fine wine through a song, even though I don't like wine.
I love wine.
Give me a Moscato because it's sugary. It's like a soda wine. Thanks.
Dude, I'll drink Moscato. I'll drink Pinot Grigio. I'll drink Asti Spumante. I don't care. I like wine.
Okay. Give me my beer, but I'm not exactly drinking right now. Next song is Nothing, which is a very relaxing song that once again demonstrates their split vocal styles.
Yes, I wrote that too.
Nothing too exciting, but it's a composition from the Cat Empire, so you know that.
Dude, it's enjoyable. Like, you just sit there and you're just like, well, nothing. We're doing nothing at all.
It kind of sounds like some Randy Newman Toy Story stuff.
Like, one of your like cover this song.
It just kind of walks like it's a walk in the park.
Left foot, right foot.
Left foot, right foot. Oh, you got a friend in me.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, there's not really a whole lot to say about this song.
Not really, besides Randy Newman, split vocal styles, and fun if you like to hear them try another curveball. You know, that's once again another genre they explore. What would you call this?
For Nothing? That's like jazz.
Yeah, it's fairly the walkie jazz for sure. That Saturday in the park,
Sunday morning kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. Easy on. Not really like the song, but kind of that vibe.
It's like literally that song, Easy on Sunday Morning. That's just them covering that song. No,
it's not. Is that Lionel Richie?
I believe so.
Nice. Much respect to the Commodores from my end.
I own a Lionel Richie album on vinyl.
Nice. I mean, why wouldn't you? I think that's a staple. You know how people are when you're in middle school, you're like, I don't listen to any of that stuff. And then when you're older, you can say that you can listen to all the classics like, oh, Lionel Richie's cool. And somebody will be like, hey, yeah, you're right. When you should be ashamed of that stuff when you're younger.
We must have had different experiences because, like, for me, I would be like, yeah, I like Papa Roach and Corn, and then meanwhile I've got like a cardboard cutout of Lionel Richie. There isn't a single thing in that sentence that was true. I don't like Papa Roach or Corn.
I didn't think you liked Papa Roach because you're an anti butt rocker.
Dude, I like one song by Papa Roach, and even then that song gets on my nerves about halfway through, so...
Fair enough. If you could tell the esteemed listener what that song is, I'll listen.
Lifeline.
I like Lifeline. That's a song I didn't expect to like by them.
Yeah, it was different, and it was also on Band Hero.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So
Rock Band's stupid second cousin.
Hey. I played Rock Band and I played the Guitar Hero version, and I gotta say, Guitar Hero did it a little better from the fact that they actually had hi-hats.
Yeah, you're right. I'll give Band Hero that. So the next song on this record is called Beanie.
His name was Beanie.
His name was Beanie. I wrote that he had in an upbeat intro, tempo changes that slows down a lot. Nothing really I'd listen to outside of hearing this record.
I'd listen to it. I like this kind of shit.
But it shows a lot of the jazz within their genre.
Oh yeah, and I wrote a model ska song about two people known by their signature clothing, featuring both singers to highlight each other. Fun, energetic. It's a fun song.
See, you've had more opportunity to kind of dig into the meanings of these songs because basically we're doing these on first, maybe second, maybe third listens.
Yeah,
for sure.
Next song was The Crowd, and I just wrote another build-up song led by I wrote the second singer, but Harry.
Right.
I actually have a hard time listening to The Crowd and Manifesto.
Yeah, and by this point in the album, it kind of felt like a chore to listen to. And
Yeah.
I thought Beanie would be the weakest song, but Crowd is definitely it, or at least you'd think so, because there are two songs left on this record.
Yeah, and for Manifesto, song 12, I wrote the final party song on the album. If the final track weren't so good at closing the album, I would say that this should do it.
And I will say, chill songs aren't a problem to me. I'm not going to say that a song is weak just because it's chill and relaxing.
No,
and
but like they don't need to do it.
But it's mostly the length of the song that really got me with Crowd.
Because it's 5 minutes, 18 seconds.
Is that what it is? Yeah, I got it's 5 minutes 14 seconds, and if you're gonna do a really long ballad it's not 8 minutes, it's not 10 minutes, it's 5 minutes. The length of the song, the energy it created, it was hard for me to listen to it. I skipped,
especially coming off of Beanie and going into Manifesto.
Yeah, and then Manifesto, this song definitely stood out to me. The jazzy bass found for that energetic feel that we were longing for. Again, listening to this album and knowing what to expect. It also had a clear thought to the idea that the sequencing on this record just seemed like one song after another with similar vibes. Poppier half was the first half, and the more progressive, let's try stuff half was the latter half.
Yeah.
And that's very much understood. I don't know if most ska bands do it like that, or in this situation, maybe I'm throwing around ska too much, and most people would be like, hey, they're not ska. I don't know. All right, so now we're moving on to All That Talking.
This song drifts through.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Let's start over, so we're not talking over each other. The last song on, ironically, I'll introduce the song.
Okay.
The last song on this record. No, it's just I'll stop and then just make sure there's space around it. And it's not like I'm annoyed at you by any means.
Yeah, I got you, dude.
All right. The last song on this record is called All That Talking. At the end of this 55-minute epic, which this album clocks in at a whopping 55 minutes and 7 seconds.
Over just 13 songs.
And this is your debut album, man. That's rough for me, but if you're somebody who appreciates the genre of ska and loves jazz, loves things that are very unique, then this is 55 minutes of just heaven for some people, I'm sure. For me,
like me.
At the end of this 55-minute epic is a 7-minute jazz ballad, which I could only see myself listening to if I were in the mood, but for only that. Not a great way to end an album with a solid finale, but a good way to cap your resume to say, we can do any and all of this.
Okay. I'm gonna bring in a good analogy here in a second.
Okay.
But this song drifts through experimental pieces of songs that blend together endlessly until you don't even realize that you're still listening to an album. And so like at a certain point you're just kind of like, oh my god, is this still on? And so that actually, all that talking is necessary to actually go against what we were saying earlier, in that this is exempt from the feel of a completed album. In that so you look at the last album that we reviewed, the Morning Parade's self-titled album, as a roller coaster, right? Mm-hmm. This one you look at as a party. Strong start to the party with How to Explain Days Like These, the Lost song. Or rather, How to Explain in Days Like These. Then you got the Lost song. I mean, everybody's there, everything's getting a little awkward. And then it starts building up with the Chariot, Hello, 145, the rhythm, the wine song. Like, people are, like, in this party, people are starting to do shots, and, like, all the best songs are coming on the stereo, stuff like that. Like, it's getting crazy. And then nothing. And everybody's like, okay, I'm starting to get a little tired, but I feel good. then Beanie's just kind of like, okay, yeah, we were getting our second win. Let's go. And then the crowd, and it's just, do what?
Oh gosh, second win. That reminds me of like being 22 and 23.
Yeah, and then like you've got the crowd where everybody's just kind of like, okay, seriously, I'm starting to get tired. And then Manifesto is just like, all right, one more for the road.
One more for the road.
It's last call. It's last call. And then all that talking is just like, okay, every party muddles towards the end to where people don't even realize that they've been at a party for like 9 hours.
Wow, that's pretty good. I like how you put that. You compare this record to just this whole big party. At first everybody's dancing and crazy, and at the end everybody's passed out in different places, on the floor, on the fireplace, on couches,
crawling back home.
Somebody's head's in a toilet somewhere.
Exactly. And so when you look at it like that, this album absolutely qualifies as having a feel of a completed product.
Yeah, but for me, who is listening to this album for the first time, it was kind of torture. I don't think I got through all that talking. I did listen to it, enough of it to where I felt like I got the gist of it.
If you listen to the end, like if you listen to the song from start to finish, there's going to be a point, and this happened to me at like I must have heard this album like 50 times, and there's always a point where I go, oh God, is this still on?
Yeah, for sure. And it's 55 minutes when the average album nowadays is 30 to 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And this is it's a very admirable album. But
strong first start.
I'm gonna say that in a sense, I'm gonna say that 2003, like those early mid 2000s, was the time to be as whatever you wanted to be as an artist. So I can't hate on the 7-minute ballads at the end of the record, because somebody out there that appreciates your genre and your band is gonna love that, just because they appreciate everything that you do. So I thought that the time of the late 90s, early mid 2000s was the time where any rock band could get the most hardcore following ever.
Yeah. In fact, if I could go back to 2004, when I was like 12 and start a band,
at 12,
it might have worked. It might have worked in 2004.
I mean, there was no watered down. I mean, there kind of was. It was MySpace was the viral media at the time.
Yeah, because YouTube hadn't hit until 2005, and then people didn't start using it until like 06, 07.
Well, 2004, 2005, YouTube was used. They had full episodes of any TV show. It was just kind of like a host your video thing on there.
Yeah.
And then it blew up, and then Google bought it years later. And the next thing you know, there's all these rules, and we're like, damn it, I can't watch full episodes of this show here anymore.
I can't watch full episodes of Rocket Power anymore. Which is something I've attempted to do recently.
Damn it, can't watch fucking Rocket Power. Isn't that like on Hulu? Because Hulu has a thing with Nickelodeon.
I hope. I know Hulu had SpongeBob for a while, but they don't.
Well, Hulu had like one season of SpongeBob, and I think maybe 6 episodes at a time. You just can't give us everything, can you?
No.
Guess not. So I guess we should wrap up this record now before we go on tantrums about Viacom and Nickelodeon girls.
Dude, I hear that if you go to your bathroom and turn off the light and like light a candle and say Viacom 3 times in the mirror, your entire house gets taken down in a copyright strike.
Oh my gosh. I thought you were going to say Dan Schneider was going to appear with you in your bathroom.
Well, he does need to bring all my bitches back.
Bring all my bitches back.
That's a fun next week we'll review Pink's season. We're not doing that, but
no, we're not. All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap up this record here. Go ahead.
Worst song. What do you think is the worst song?
Worst song. You know what? I gotta be fair with these songs, because I can't just throw that All That Talking is the worst song. I think honestly I can say that it's the song that I'd probably never listen to again.
Okay.
But it's still a good composition for what it is.
Okay. Best song.
I'm gonna say that the worst song is gonna be Crowd.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying All That Talking was the worst song.
No, that would
Okay.
be unfair to the song itself. It's a good song. I just can't listen to it.
Yeah,
It's kind of like you get separating church and state, like as a musician, you know.
I would agree that The Crowd is the worst song.
It's the weakest, yeah.
Yeah.
And then go ahead. Best, I'm gonna say that the strongest song on the record. And that's a tough one.
Yeah, because I know your favorite's Hello.
Favorite is Hello, which might as well get that out of the way now. Hello is my favorite. It's
The rhythm
great.
is my favorite.
Fantastic. I'm going to say
You should just say the rhythm and get it over with.
no.
1, 4, 5.
I'm gonna go with The Chariot. The Chariot is, I think, the strongest song on this album.
Okay. I'm gonna go with the rhythm for strongest and my favorite.
The rhythm is very good. I actually think that the more I listen to some of these songs, the more I feel like they innovate the genre in ska. Okay. But I'm gonna go ahead and stick to my guns. The Chariot. Our weapons are instruments made from timber and steel. So good.
Last step. Rating out of 10.
Rating it out of 10. I'm going to give it a strong 6.
Ooh, wow. Okay. I was going to give it a low 8. Like an 8.1. Maybe an 8.0. Actually, you know what? That's me projecting. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 7.5.
Yeah, just think about it. Think about how you felt the first time you heard that record, or if, let's say, the strict critic in you was listening to that record for the first time.
And didn't make the party analogy.
And the party analogy was just such a strong seller.
Without the party analogy, it really doesn't have the album vibe to it.
That's true, yeah. But I mean, if you come to appreciate records from the mid to early 2000s, nobody kept the pop listener in mind. They just did what they had to do and did what they wanted to do. Sure. We can do all this and we can do it well. I'm
going to give it a 7.5.
All right. Sticking to the guns, I see. 7.5. That is a passing grade in most classes.
Absolutely. And at least in America, I hear like a 50s passing in some countries.
In Colorado, a 60 is passing.
Oh man, that would have been nice.
Right?
Okay, so albums for the next episode. I am suggesting
episode 2, we are going to suggest another album to each other. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off again. We'll try to be a little less dysfunctional in episode 2.
No, we're going to be more dysfunctional in episode 2. We're
going to burn it all down.
We're going to do both of our album reviews at the same time.
All right. I'll record my track, you record your track, and then we'll just play them side by side. And then I'm talking to you, but it's like I'm talking to a wall. Turns out, sounds like most relationships, right?
It's a mashup podcast. It's innovative.
Also, there's going to be a really distorted track in the background. You're not going to be able to hear either of us.
It's just fuzz.
If you play it backwards, it's not going to sound any different.
If you play the following section that Future Dylan's about to edit in, if you play that backwards, you might be able to hear what sounds faintly like Satan eats cheese whiz, and that's a Weird Al joke, but.
Is it? I've never heard that one.
There's a song called I forget if it's Nature Trail to Hell or if it's theme from Rocky like 23 or something like that. But if you go over the back masking, he's clearly saying Satan eats cheese whiz.
What the? I want to hear this now.
Hell, dude! At some point, I might have to suggest Weird Al in 3D. That's the album it's on.
What hits are on that record?
Weird Al in 3D?
Yeah.
Eat It.
Eat It's great.
Here, let me see real quick. Weird Al in 3D. Weird Al Yankovic in 3D, which was released in 1983. Ooh. Had Eat It, King of Suede, I Lost on Jeopardy. Polka's on 45, Mr. Pompeo, theme from Rocky 13, Nature Trail to Hell. Yeah, it had stuff like that on it.
I think I only know Eat It on that record, unless
I Lost on Jeopardy is really funny.
Maybe I Lost on Jeopardy. I think I might know that one. I had this Weird Al Essentials DVD. I know that.
Yeah, Rocky theme from Rocky 13 is actually a parody of Eye of the Tiger by Survivor, and it's about an old Rocky that's at a deli ordering the rye or the Kaiser, and
Right.
Nature Trail to Hell is just about an upcoming horror movie that's coming to theaters where like all these Boy Scouts die.
Damn. Okay.
It's fun. I have it on cassette somewhere, but
cassette. Dang, you got a player for that?
No.
It's just gonna sit on there and collect dust.
I got it at a thrift store for $1. So
what'd you think of that movie UHF? That was pretty good, right?
I liked it. I'm a big fan of what's his nuts that plays Kramer.
Michael Richards.
Yes. Pre racism.
Pre Black Tirade.
Yeah. But I'm a big fan of Kramer. I really want to own an actually nice framed version of that Kramer as Scarface painting.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Anyway, so the albums that we're suggesting for next week are I'm suggesting Born to Die by Lana Del Rey. It's a big favorite of mine.
I can't wait to dissect that and talk about it with you guys. And the what do we call them? The esteemed listener.
Yes.
And I will suggest I just can't take myself seriously.
Just keep going, man.
Okay. And I'm going to suggest the phrase self-titled record, which was their second. I think we're both suggesting technical second albums. I know yours is a major label debut, but a technical second album.
Yes.
This is the phrase self-titled record from 2006.
And mine's from 2012.
Yeah, I know it's kind of funny that people are hearing, what, The Fray? It's like, yes, The Fray. They're one of my favorite bands, and y'all gonna have to deal with it. Let me be me.
Yeah, the only Fray songs that I've ever heard are the two that were on the radio in that year.
How to Save a Life and Cable Car, right? Yeah, we get it. I'm gonna drag you to a live show of theirs, and you're just gonna be so impressed. And then we're gonna go meet Isaac, the singer, and he's totally cool.
And then I'm gonna drag you for all like $400 that each ticket takes to a Coldplay show.
Gosh, yeah, you're no kidding. Like, has that Cowboy Stadium show happened yet?
Yeah, dude, and it was sold out. It was like $180 to stand behind the last row of seats.
Did you try to go?
If I had $180 to stand behind the last row of seats, I still wouldn't have done it. But if I had been able to get closer seats, absolutely.
You just gotta hope the hype dies down somewhere in the next year, which it won't.
Dude, they've been going strong since like 2001, and they're like considered one of the biggest live acts that constantly puts out music in the world.
That was a poorly read joke. Sorry, there's no hype dying down around Coldplay.
Yeah,
Coldplay has the crown right now.
And dude, every album that they release gets better.
Yeah, they're pretty great. I know that a lot of people place some type of stigma on Coldplay, but they're pretty good. And I seem to find a way to keep talking about them, even though they're not the main topic.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I don't like the songs that people associate with them the most, like Yellow and Clocks and stuff like that.
Right. I like Yellow, just because I was really young and it was on one of those Now CDs.
I do not like that one. I love The Speed of Sound though. And that
sounds good.
Took me a long time. Anyway, so yeah. That's what we'll get to those next week. And also the song from the intro music was Pigs by Without a Face off of his 5 songs EP. You can find more by Without a Face at withoutaface.bandcamp.com. And I think that's it.
Thanks everyone. And as Arnold Schwarzenegger would say, good night.